how are you doing? Welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room. Remember, our hashtag is the Situation Room. I'd like you to tag us on all the conversations so everybody else can see what we are discussing every weekday morning. Valentine is coming, Ndu.
Yes, it is.
Tell the government spokesman, Dr. Isaac Mwaura, who's our next guest.
Do you know what you'll be doing on the 14th of February?
I think I will be attending a parents' meeting for my son.
Okay, after that, let me tell you what you'll be doing.
Yes.
So once you're done with school, now you can let everything down at Saratoga City. It's on the 14th of February, as I said. So we all know in school, we'll be in school in the morning. In the evening, we'll be going to Saratoga City.
Where is this?
Saratoga Center.
Okay, so what's happening there?
Now, let me tell you. It's the Elegance in Love cocktail dinner, right?
Okay.
You do know that 14th of February is Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
People are in love, others who pretend to be, it doesn't matter. We are going to celebrate by having this dinner. Now, if you go alone, which I don't think you will be doing, but anyway, anybody who goes alone, you pay 3,000 shillings. That's a regular single. If you go with somebody, it will be a regular couple. And you pay 5,500 shillings. If you go as a VIP couple, you pay 10,000 shillings. And then I need you see, like this suit that you have is beautiful.
Well, thank you.
Now, if you have one that's in burgundy and gold, spectacular, and you show up at dinner, it would be great. There's food, there's dancing, it's a spicy evening. It's a great way to celebrate love on this wonderful Valentine's Day. So, ticketsasa.com, that's where you buy your tickets. We go, we have fun. And then on Thursday, we wake up and go to work. But that day.
It's a day and night of love. All right, Mwashimura.
That's a good tip of, sometimes men have no clue.
Yeah, now we've clued you in. See now?
We've been sorted, my friend.
Isn't it? Yeah. And we even know that we know how much we are going to spend.
We know how much.
Well, at least for the dinner, you know what you're going to spend.
We know the
Those
budget.
other things.
Yes.
Now the problem will be kuitisha burgundy.
Suit in the gold,
Burgundy.
Tushonneshe mapema. Ile ni tarehe 6, can't be ready.
It's very possible.
You have some time. Think about it early.
Yeah.
How are you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's been long, but I'm happy.
Yes.
Yeah. There was a time I was supposed to come. Ednah looked for me, but then I couldn't make it. I think I became too busy. Yeah.
Well, Karibu-san, Ednah is saying things into my ear. I can't hear what she said. But I think I'm a Sama Karibu. City has the day's proverb.
Yes, the proverb. Darkness conceals the hippopotamus.
Darkness conceals the hippopotamus.
The hippo.
Isaac, what's your interpretation of this?
First and foremost, I need to give condolences to the people of Namibia because of the loss of their president. I was there in November last year. It's a beautiful country, very bubbly people, very independent people. It's actually a desert, really, Kalahari. Went all the way from Vanduk, which is like really in between mountains, all the way to Swakopmund. It's a beautiful, and Wavisbai. It's a really nice place. I also met the first lady of the country here as well. Well, I think when it is at night, City, do you want me to say what I think about this? And is here. Men don't see at night. In the darkness, you could be dealing with a hippo. So things are shrouded in mystery, in darkness. Yeah, you can't quite figure them out. That's what,
Darkness brings mystery. We have very many things to discuss with you as the government spokesman. And I want us to start on the issue of Mradi and Makasi. What happened there, the blast, and as you can see in the headline in the paper today, right? It says, anger as hundreds stare death in the face, right? The blast that happened there, a number of deaths so far reported. Many people injured, the disaster response, the response that we've now seen again from the government in terms of the various agencies concerned, NEMA, EPRA, the county government of Nairobi. But where are the gaps, Isaac?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think it's good to say from the word go, the government extends its condolences, gives its condolences to the 6 confirmed persons who passed on for 4 at KNH and 2 in other hospitals. And also the fact that over 280 people really were taken to various hospitals, and 761 families were affected. As at yesterday, 28 families had been displaced, but they have since left the social hall because we were given some money to go and pay rent elsewhere. Some 62 small businesses, the Mwaura businesses, were destroyed or razed down. So it's really, really pathetic. Going to the hospitals and seeing the most affected being referred to KU referral and also KNH. I would want to tell you, Eric, it's quite sad because some of the scars have disfigured their bodies, and Ndu is here. For men, maybe not, and I think maybe as well, we all are the same. But maybe it would affect women more, the way they now will look like going forward, because of the stigma around scars. It's terrible. It's terrible. And, the challenge of this inferno is the fact that people are inhaling gas, so they could also get internal damages. Then the other thing is the issue of the fact that we anticipate by now there will be many who will be going back because of the kidney issues. Because the skin, helps to discharge waste. It's 20% of the body, of course, with the help of the kidney as well. So those are the challenges. Of course, the whole issue is unacceptable because this Marxist company had applied for a license. IPRA had refused to give them licenses, but you can see NEMA was compromised, and the 4 people have been named who, of course, are culpable. And then eventually, this is the result of it. Of course, it was an illegal gas filling plant. I could see the lawyer of the so-called suspect, who has already, showed up, trying to create doubt, that it's the lorry that was, whatever, offloading the gas was trespassing. That's not the case. I mean, when you go there, you find a lot of huge trailers full of these cylinder tanks. That then, of course, are used to transport this gas. And it's really, really unfortunate that at this time and age, you could have this sheer greed by individuals to really circumvent justice. As a government spokesman, I will not, be on this national radio and pretend that everything was working well. No. There was a lapse. There was a lax, of course, issues of corruption and compromise around the officials who should have actually done proper oversight against this, this illegal gas filling plant in the middle of a residential area.
Okay. Yeah. I think it lends, just that lends to the deeper conversation here, that in terms of what the position is when it comes to disaster management in the country, but on the other hand, when it comes to these processes whereby approvals are given by government entities for things that shouldn't be. And so what is the check? What is the oversight? What is the security that Kenyans are being assured of that these things, because if there's one, there could be 100. What is the security or guarantee that there is a hands-on approach to making sure that things like this do not occur? Because the truth of the matter is, had this explosion not happened on Thursday, the thing would still continue. It would still be there, and still be running illegally.
I think the whole issue is for Kenyans now to take this opportunity to say where this is happening, because there's a special focus based on this tragedy. Sometimes government is spread too thinly because there are competing priorities. And unfortunately, because of this incident, then there's a special focus on what such plants can do. So it's good the Kenyans to report to IPRA, to the local authorities, so that they are mapped out and action is taken now to avert that crisis. And I think I've seen some petition from a certain area here in Nairobi of the same. We want to see more of this. Let's not keep quiet because it looks very far-fetched. So that then government can have reason to act Yeah.
Let me ask you, you're saying the government is spread too thin. Well, the government is spread across the country. The government starts from Nyumba Kumi to a village headman, to a sub-chief, to a chief, going all the way up. And even at county level, you have other people. Then you have the enforcement agencies with their officers all the way to the ground. When you say that now is a time for citizens to tell the government, I fail to understand what you exactly mean, Bwana Spokesman.
What I mean
Are
is,
you saying that the structures of government have failed?
No. What I mean is that there are so many things that government is supposed to be doing at any given point in time.
Yes.
And there are too many actors. The people who are employed by government, for example, Eric, who earn a salary from government in the public service over 900,000, I think 903,000. 77,000 who are the typical civil servants. The rest are in the public service, including teachers and police and all of that. So it's a huge behemoth. It's a huge undertaking. And at that point in time, then people work in silos. So you find the other person doesn't know what the other one is doing. So my role, for example, as a government spokesman, is coordinate that kind of communication, because everyone of the agencies or state departments will be communicating based on their own views, like that hippo we are talking about in the dark, where you can only describe what you are seeing or what you're dealing with. So when now the focus of the whole of government is on this tragedy, then there's concerted efforts. Yeah. And remember, these individuals that we have mentioned or agencies don't deal with a single issue. They may be dealing with a plethora of issues. But now we have an opportunity for us to say, what is our stand in this way? How can we, augment our, security measures, our processes, so that then such things do not happen?
I think.
However, Eric. There is no legislation against character. When somebody decides to compromise the best of intentions and sell it, I was reading the Bible today in the book of Genesis, I think it's chapter 24, about how Esau sold his birthright, So if then you decide to sell it off in exchange for some little money, then the result is this individuals whose lives have been changed forever, and it's not acceptable.
But it's not a one-off thing, Bwana Spokesman. It's not a one-off thing. That's for somebody to make a decision to do this or to go against what is supposed to be done, that they have come and found that it's either common practice or that it has become systemic. And I think that's the thing that we are talking about. When we talk about government being spread too thin, or we're saying that somebody has decided to go against what should be, it's because they found something that has been accepted. And I think what the position is on how to root out this conditioning of just recurrent bad manners, I think, is the issue. What's the position on that? Because this one just happened to blow up. There are others. I'm sure we know there are others that are disasters in waiting because of pre-approvals that should not have been given, because of the systemic mismanagement and corruption and just horrible, horrible ways of doing things. We had a conversation about city county just an hour before you. What is the position in terms of weeding out this bad behavior, because it is coming out towards the loss of life, as we have seen?
I think the whole issue is something higher and bigger, Ndu. And I'm happy that you've asked that question. People are no longer patriotic. And my office it has something we are, cobbling up together called the Uzalendo Initiative or the Uzalendo Campaign. Because people become more united when they feel there's a common sense of purpose. And that is what is deterrent more than even a piece of legislation, for example. And so we need to keep on talking about it. And you, the members of the fourth estate, you have a platform. Spice FM is extremely, famous. You've actually revolutionized it to become a premier station where serious issues are discussed in this show. And so we speak to the hearts of the people, not just the minds, because it makes logic. It makes logic that one can make money out of a situation. And it's sometimes very interesting how public officials would openly ask for you for a bribe as if it's their own birthright. So it's a culture that has become extremely endemic in our society. But the only way is to show people to be more patriotic, wakuwe na uzalendo na utaifa. That is the only way we are going to change the situation. Of course, you will argue about people being arrested, being taken to court, but we know that that necessarily may not sometimes be the solution, because we have had people who have gotten anticipatory bails, or like in the situation of this gentleman or the owner of this company, he actually was taken to court and he was fined only 500,000, yet the law provided for 10 million. So again, you can see there's some compromise there with regards to that outcome. So that's the problem. We really have a very, very, very poor values, and that is why the drafters of the Constitution, came up with national values and principles. There are actually 17 of them. But I think for me the most powerful one, Ndu, is patriotism. And I'm not saying this to escape from responsibility. I'm just trying to show that there's something bigger and higher, something philosophical, something that is overarching, that can actually make somebody make a decision that is right without them having to look around who to give instructions, to get instructions from.
There has got to be an incentive, all right, so that people can see that there is example and it pays to do the right thing. Right now, people say it pays to do the wrong thing because you escape, with the little things. So right now, if we say that we tell the public, if you see anything that looks like an illegal establishment that is doing gas refilling, please report to the nearest officer. Those officers are aware of these installations. The Honorable Moses Kuria, Cabinet Secretary, tweeted of one that's next to a police station. Obviously, the police must have known. And if they didn't know, they have all the right and powers to go and inspect and check. And they know who to report to if there's an issue, even if the government is operating in silos, which goes against the mantra of government, the one whole government approach. It basically is pointing to something. And I agree with you when you say it's pointing to an issue of patriotism, but it's also pointing to an issue of a system that has serious cracks. And if we do not accept that our system has serious cracks, then I don't think we can solve it. A system with such cracks that 4 officers can immediately be pointed at and say, if we just do a casual investigation by a board, we can establish there was a flouting of procedure in the issuance of this license. Just a casual top-level investigation. That's a failure by our system.
And if that is the case here, and it's the case because there was that fire. If there was no fire, this would not be a discussion. So it begs the question, what else is seeping through the cracks? What other impending danger is there? Something that we are not quite seeing, but it's lurking and waiting to strike at the right moment. And I ask this question, Mheshimiwa, because of a simple reason. In the last 2 years, we've had very many strange fires in this city. Place like Ikomba, it's like periodic. You'd actually think that there's a tradition of Kikomba burning down. You suddenly hear that the industry of individuals who have businesses along the roadside creating furniture, you find the whole lot burnt. And I'm thinking, really, how long have they been there? It's now burning down. Then you go back into history. There is a pipeline fire, there is Sinai, there is JKIA, and you're thinking, my goodness, these are other many, aren't they? Because we have other cities in this country. You don't hear of such calamities. So what is it? When you say patriotism, I would agree with you, and you're looking at the outcome. But I'm saying, if there are cracks, those cracks are not getting fewer, they're not getting less, they're getting more. And unfortunately, whenever a crack is envisioned or when it becomes public, people lose lives.
I think it's a difficult conversation, and I hear you. And people who have to deal with this on a daily basis, like you come, it's like this is an accountability platform. I come here as a government spokesman to speak on behalf of government, but I belabor the pain because it goes all the way to even how we elect our officials, And do we have very high standards? The there's a conversation that somebody was giving me, was telling me about on Sunday. And he was telling me, oh, you have a neighbor there. That neighbor was telling us that you really were popular on the ground, but because you cannot steal yourself into being elected, then that is the reason why. So I was on, okay, who is this? I don't even know the person, the name. But it is not to play clean, but it's true. It's true what you have said very clearly. We seem to glorify those that can do whatever they want and they get away with it. I think the culture of impunity has been there for a very long time. And unfortunately, not sounding like a preacher, but the law does not cure this problem because people don't have a way of circumventing the law. So there must be some higher kind of inspiration that makes people to obey and to follow certain tenets without them being compelled by somebody coming behind them with a whip. But then, of course, it's also true. If you go to China, for example, they'll tell you the moment the corruption went down is when people were executed publicly. That is a time when people said, I don't want to face this embarrassment. And they will show you even how, one official, I forget his name, who had this very nice Rolls Royce vehicles and living large, and how his whole family was actually finished. And that way, then they've been able to build a very robust state. Not to say that that should be the case, but suddenly, I actually wonder whether sometimes this idea of copy-pasting practices from other jurisdictions is not counterproductive, because at our level of development now, we are having a situation where everything that is done, and including by the president, is questionable. Somebody will go to court and countermand and change presidential directives. And then that means then it becomes a circus. It becomes a circus. By the time that issue is resolved, then there's no water has gone under the bridge. So I think that is where the issue is. I think that is where the issue is. We become too liberal. I think we become too liberal. So everybody thinks eventually you can go with it.
You know, I'm laughing. You have brought in echoes of the past. There was a gentleman who was once a minister in the Moi government called Sharif Nasir, and he said something very similar to what you just said. He said the problem with Kenya is there's too much freedom. People are too free to do whatever they like. But unfortunately, that's what the Bill of Rights espouses, and that's what it's supposed to be like. Unfortunately, that's what it brings about. It's called accountability. And when any form of accountability is opposed, then we are saying that someone seems to be propagating a system where one can't be asked a question or one can't be told, take a step back and consider. Now, is it really a bad thing for the government, for the executive, for anybody who is in authority to be told, pause a while and consider? Is it really a bad thing?
No, I think the issue is when it's too tight, then it becomes a draconian state. When it becomes too liberal, nothing happens. So you've got to find a balance. And Francis Fukuyama, I'm a student of his politics, I keep on quoting him, The Origin of Political Order, and then another one written, Political Order and Political Decay. He says that you don't need, if you have a too strong a state, then nothing happens. If you have too weak a state, then as well, nothing happens. Because then people are stifled in terms of the creativity if they have to look over the shoulder. And we've been there before.
Does Fukuyama give examples of states that have this balance?
Yes. But usually they are at another level of development, not like ours. They may have actually attained certain forms. His argument is that first you have a very strong arm of the state. It stabilizes, then you slowly release, you democratize the franchise. Okay. But then in our case, it's like we went straight. That mediation didn't quite happen.
Don't you think, Mheshimiwa, that actually it is those that still have hang-ups of the strong arm that are finding it hard to let go? We talk about impunity and accountability, because it's all about accountability, isn't it? Today, and that's why I said, as we launch the Uzalendo campaign, it'll need a face, something that shows incentive, that shows that when something wrong happens, there's a price to pay for it. When something right happens, then there's a reward for it, and you can all see the reward, the fruits of the right things happening. We all continuously see the fruits of the wrong things happening. with a government that is, continuously not able to answer very basic questions. This fire story, many people are not even holding their breath that after 2 weeks, this issue of Mradi will end. The 28 families who've been given money to go and pay rent, they'll pay rent for maybe 1-2 months. After that, sort yourselves out. The people who are in hospital, whose lives have been changed, after that, sort yourselves out. The people who've been suspended in various offices, nothing will happen to them. Look at Shakahola. To date, the government, and you're the spokesman, you can correct me if I'm wrong, the government cannot tell us how many people are buried in Shakahola today, a year after they started digging up the land. Today, the government cannot tell us what exactly happened in Shakahola. Who took people to Shakahola? How did they end up in Shakahola? Were all those people starving themselves to death because they were following a cult leader, or were there other things? We cannot know. Today, we do not know who's responsible for insecurity in the north. Today, we do not know when somebody who applied for a passport or an ID 2 years ago will get that document.
Okay.
And if all these things, we are not seeing the results of fighting impunity and demand for accountability, then there is no incentive to stop impunity.
Okay, Eric. I think. Let me first and foremost say, the idea of the public good is not immediately felt, and that's a challenge of governance. People are hand to mouthers, so they see the immediate. It is incumbent upon any leader who aspires to transform society to see further than the people that he's leading. That is why he has that responsibility. That's why he has that latitude. That is why he has that opportunity to serve. But then you have to move with the people. And that, I think, is a challenge. Because when we talk about free medical health care at the primary level 1, 2, and 3, primary health care, because this money is being diverted to private hospitals, and then those people go to court to oppose the law, that is very clear. When you talk about the issue of IDs that are now pending, 700,000 Kenyans have not been able to get IDs. We had a sit-down yesterday with the Chief Justice and the Executive, because we are on an accountability journey. We call it the Government Roadshow. And that's a matter that is going to be determined, I think, today. Let's wait to see what they say about it. But then when you have that delay, then many people tend to suffer. When it comes to the issue of, like getting to the bottom of it, Eric, I believe we will have a final report on the Shakahola, and it will give us a near correct, because sometimes we may not fully understand, a near correct figure, estimate of how many people died there, whether there was extrajudicial killings by the security apparatus, whether it was purely, gangs, or also the religious intoxication by, or other, whatever that happened there. But it is also true that people move on very quickly, and you are in the media industry. People have attention span of only 24 hours on an issue. When you ask them about what was happening the following week, they don't remember. It's just a culture that is becoming common in this information age, because there's information overload. There's too much that is happening, and everybody's trying to report. But then, what is the residual effect of this? The fact that we may not have very strong follow-up mechanisms on issues is something I would want to consider that we need to also improve upon. So that then we don't just profile the situation just because it is current. That one is something personally, as even the government spokesman, I agonize about. I agonize because, Eric, I've seen how the lives of people have been transformed forever, and I wonder what that will mean when the reality actually hits those that are affected. And of course, there is also an element of heroism, and that's what we need to amplify on the Uzalendo campaign. Like, there are some young men in Embakasi, the Mradi area, who actually got banned because they were trying to save others. So and you could see they were there. those are the people we need to extol that virtue and to hail them and to and to amplify that kind of heroic act that they did, so that then people can see the positive aspects of it rather than those who just profiteer using illegalities. And of course, it is actually true, Eric, that those that then are do-gooders sometimes are seen to be like they come last. In fact, even in dating, they say good men come last. So it's kind of a principle in society generally. But be that as it may, even if they come last, they are the ones who last longer.
But you see, the effect of everything that I've just talked about is that citizens then will hear what the government is saying, but they will not trust what the government is saying. When the government says, we are going to resolve this issue, when the government says, never again shall people burn like this because of something like this, people just look at you and you think, well, yeah, haven't we had that before? Because there's no follow-up. And the follow-up is not with the office of the government spokesperson, because you should only be speaking to us about progress and report. There are people who are supposed to be doing it. Those people who are supposed to be doing it, why are they not doing it? And why are they not being held to account for not doing what they ought to be doing?
I think, Eric, it's a communications issue as well. I have gathered information that then after this, I use it to seek support or follow-up. For example, I was able to reach out to the UN and the UN resident representative at interim, Medhin, and we were able to get some support from the UNHCR, you see. Now, those that have lost their documents, when they register at the social hall, we follow up with the Kenya National Examination Council, we follow up with the National Registration Bureau, then they take it up. This communication aspect, it brings people together in the whole of government approach, WOGA. So it's critical, but then of course, it's a call to action, and I've seen it work actually. I've seen it work, like for example, when we're having the El Nino emergency response, Kenya Red Cross could not, import some boats to help in the rescue missions because there was a bottleneck with the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and my office had to intervene to make sure that process became seamless. So it's a communications issue, and because you are the one on the ground, you are the one who gets to be informed by everybody what they are doing. And then you do a follow-up mechanism. Of course, I will inform the president. I will inform the deputy president now that he is the one, in charge in the ensuing period until the president comes back. So those kind of things it's a connection issue. But at the same time, it's also why patriotism, again, if I can say that, is because it jolts you into action without you being prompted. You get, yeah, and you feel compelled to do so, and give credit where it is due. I think that was very strong around President Moi's reign. Uzalendo, patriotism. We even had a loyalty pledge that it bordered on the political, but at least you could feel that there was a serious endeavor to encourage nationhood and patriotism. That has since been lost for the last 20 or so years, more than 20 years, because then we became individual relational. It was about rights, and of course, rights also have responsibilities. You can't just say that you have your right and therefore then you are not responsible, because just like we have three arms of government, they're independent, but they're interdependent. The judiciary would want the parliament to allocate resources, the executive would want to execute, but also would like to have the force of law. So that kind of thing. And even the judiciary would require police to enforce their orders. So you cannot then therefore say you are operating in isolation. And I'm just appealing personally as a government spokesman to individuals then who hold these offices to do something. And what we are doing...
Sorry, which individuals who hold offices in government?
Yes.
Okay.
In government, who of course must do the needful, the follow-up, make sure that...
If I may lend an opinion and then ask a question, and I think that exactly is the issue, that because these things are not happening, and that's why I had alluded earlier to the systemic issues that are being faced, and then they will touch on all of these matters, whether we talk today about the cost of living, whether we talk about an education sector in crisis, whether we talk about a health system that is on its knees, whether we speak about disaster management that doesn't exist, whether we speak about endemic corruption around the country, it doesn't matter what we pick on. From your position, when you come and tell Kenyans then to be patriotic, that means that they then do their duty. The reaction that you get from most people doesn't come from a place of not wanting to be patriotic. It comes from a place of dis and mistrust. That time and time again, Kenyans have been told certain things, and those things do not live out the day, that they do not see them. I can bet my bottom dollar again that by next week we will not be talking about Mradi. We forgot about Shakahola, something so brutally terrible that has happened in this country. We don't address it with the vim that we addressed it. In the beginning, we were told this genocide. In fact, people will burn at the stake because of this kind of thing. And here we are still twiddling our thumbs 1 year later. It is distrust. And that same distrust is fueling so many other things. So when you come and tell parents of students in national schools that they should then pay to one Ecitizen platform, they don't welcome it with open arms. They say, what is afoot? What do you really want to use that money for? Do you see what I'm saying? So now, the communication that you give from your podium every time, does it really take into consideration how Kenyans perceive the information that you are delivering?
I think generally there is a distrust between the people and the government. So I am in government today, but possibly if I'm not in government tomorrow, I will also use that. It's become a sport to fight government, to make it look like it's insensitive. And that's not an issue that just affects our jurisdiction. It is across board. And defending government is not a walk in the park, because people think like you are coming there to just, you know, cook up things. But I can tell you, now that I've been in this position, actually I've just finished 4 months on 4th of February.
How's the shoe fitting?
It's quite okay. It's like fish into water. what people don't know, actually, I have a background in communications. Yeah, it's not just because they see Mwaura, the politician. Before I became a member of parliament, I was actually a public communications officer, principal public communications officer at the National Council for Persons with Disabilities. I started that PR department from scratch, and I've gone to school to study this. So it's not just... it's not just like I was found there, you know, and given an opportunity to...
So it was not a political reward.
Even if it was to be the case, but it was to a competent person.
All right.
Because of course you have to be politically aligned. You know, we cannot lie. The fact that, for example, I'm the one who wrote the first draft of the manifesto, really, the plan. I was qualified. But then, yeah. So the issue is the trust issue. The trust issue. But I think doing good, is not a popularity contest. There's a lot of singularity in that. And even those democracies that have been able to curate their histories and make individuals look like they are larger than life, it's taken time. It's taken time. But here we may have a culture of extolling impunity. Now we have a Heroes Council. And I believe that will play a critical role in just making people to look up to the ones that really stand out. The systems, the way they is structured, is still a hunter-gatherer. By the way, it's still a hunter-gatherer. It's about the rule of the jungle. That I can tell you. Even when it is supposed to be the most democratic, when the crux of the matter, when there is the crux of the matter, you find that you have to be bare knuckle, you know, and do it that way.
You're referring here to basic and fundamentally human nature.
Yes.
But let me ask you this question.
Those are atavistic tendencies of...
Yes. This nationalism you speak of, if it was full-blown and in the full glare of light, what would it look like?
It would look like you don't need to ask somebody where they're coming from. You don't need to say that you are doing this because you are defending your tribe. You'll just be defending your nation. You'll have some values that bring you out as a Kenyan.
Okay, let me just pause for a second. In the last 10 years, not 20, just 10, I could go to 20. Every time we've had a disaster in this country, there's been some formation of a group of individuals, either in the corporate sector or whatever, trying to marshal resources to assist people. Have you seen how Kenyans have risen to that call? Have they even asked who is being helped? There's a need, they have helped. Okay? Last week, we had a case of a lady who was watching TV with a child, and they actually saw the situation room, got the number. Child couldn't go to school, they didn't have money, they called. We raised the issue to our listeners. Within the space of half an hour, fees for the whole year had been raised. Fees for the books, fees for uniforms. Everything that child needed was given by our listeners. Now, I'm trying to say, what you're saying you seek to create exists. That's really the point
We are patriotic.
100%.
That's the point I'm trying to raise.
That's why Harambes and WhatsApp groups work. Because we come together. You do not say that, I cannot contribute to so-and-so because he's Luo, he's Kisii, and I'm not. No. He's a neighbor, he's somebody that you know, he's somebody who's in need. You participate. Kenyans are patriotic. The distrust that you spoke about, Mheshimiwa, that's where the crux of the matter is. That the government appears to be doing its own things and then coming to preach to us that you have to be patriotic. Every government spokesperson since the creation of that office has had a program on patriotism. Najivunia kuwa Mkenya, or the national flag, or the national dress, national this and the other. Now it's Uzalendo. You forget that we are actually patriotic.
Yeah, I think Eric, we are not patriotic enough. We may respond to individual distress because we see ourselves in that distress, and that's okay. But then in terms of public property, in terms of public good, in terms of people going out of their way not to cash in on public utilities or services that they are rendering, that's not the case. It is very common to be asked for a bribe by a public official, be it a policeman or somebody offering a certain service. You have like public vehicles, the government vehicles being misused because...
Mheshimiwa, how is that unpatriotic?
It is very unpatriotic because you are doing it because it does not concern you. It only concerns you if it's a personal tragedy. That's where the difference is. If there is company in misery, by the way. Yeah, but then before the misery happens,
Mheshimiwa, do you know why I asked the question?
Yes.
A lot of issues that relate to bribery are associated with the police service, okay? But you see, the trade-off here is inconvenience that may lead to incarceration, and the exchange rate is a few shillings. Now, I'm giving you perspective. I could argue, if you people paid, being you, this government and the previous one, paid the police better, who knows? We might argue they wouldn't need to be asking us for the 10, 20, 30, 40, 100, bob, whatever it is.
Can I answer you?
Please. Yeah. I was just giving a perspective, but please respond.
Yeah. I have been in Parliament 2 times, National Assembly and Senate. And I can tell you, and I'm saying this without certainty, it doesn't matter how much you pay a member of Parliament. No money will ever be enough to resolve individual problems. Because, nobody has enough money to feed a village. And that is why you find when people leave Parliament or other elected positions, they are paupers.
Which way you've got it. You don't need to feed a village. You need to make sure the village can feed itself.
Exactly.
That is the quarrel.
I'm with you 100% on that one. Now, for who then makes that difficult decision? I came here to your studio because I respect it. When I come here, I discuss issues that are not mundane. They are issues that you are a collegiate think tank, if I can give you my assessment of what you do. You put people to account in a rather sober way. But such conversations don't quite happen in the pedestrian, in the streets there. Because people are hand-to-mouthers. They are trying, it's an existential thing. And that is why then, instead of going to court, then I just trade off with some little cash here. But this then therefore becomes a conversation that must first and foremost happen at the upper echelons of our society, because then there's that privileged position because you're not dealing with the hand-to-mouth issues. But secondly, it is preemptive, it's ab initio, that then you have it yourself, that how did I end up making this decision, to what benefit? And without even being philosophical, it goes back to the Lee Kuan Yew, famous quote that he decided not to become rich and being in the list of Forbes rich people, but his country to become number one. Now that can only come out of patriotism, and the struggle of it is like you look at Julius Kambarage Nyerere. He decided to extol nationalism and some African socialism called Ujamaa. And after 25 years of trying it, he said it failed. But today, if you go to Tanzania...
But did it really fail?
That's why I'm coming to.
Yes.
When you go to Tanzania, you find a lesser corrupt country, a more united country, a country that has got manners more than us, and people who you can easily trust, even at an individual level, and even their language, much as it could be honorific, but they will tell you, Paul and Ataka Unifa. Naomba. That is not here, because we went to the cut-through thing. And what I'm realizing, if you study the countries that first formed as a nation, when they get the opportunity now to go the capital way, they take off. Because the moral fabric, the material culture is already established. It's the same case with China. It's the same case I see with Ethiopia, which was just up to recently even Addis Ababa was a big slum. But as we go there, we went the capitalist way, and then it's everybody for themselves. And that is the cutthroat competition then therefore means, even if you have in charge of public goods, what people will ask you is that after you are out, how did you help yourself? So if you didn't, then you are a stupid person.
You're useless.
Yeah, people then don't live within their means. And therefore, it doesn't matter how much you can be compensated for, it can never be enough. And that is the real essence of our very unequal society. So a Uzalendo initiative, therefore, Eric Latiff, coming to you, is an attempt not necessarily to resolve everything, but at least to have some rallying call.
Set the ball rolling.
Yeah, for people who then will be self-initiated.
Are you starting
into
this in government offices? For example, the government is meant to be meeting for a retreat soon. Cabinet secretaries, PSAs, and senior officials, right?
Yes.
That's a very good opportunity for you now to launch the Uzalendo initiative. Start with that group. Preach to those ones. That's not the choir. Those ones.
Can I answer you that question, Eric?
After you preach to those ones, then now go to the other government offices. After we see, come to us and tell us, you see what we mean by Uzalendo?
You see what they're doing?
This is what we mean. Service to humanity and all.
Combined with that, a simple question, when a spokesman, is government working?
Thank you. Very good. Uzalendo initiative, I take it as a challenge. Let me take that as a feedback. Now, let me explain the cabinet retreats. The first cabinet retreat happened on the 5th of January, 2023. I was not part of it because that time I had not been appointed into government. The second one happened 15th to 17th of November. I was part of it. In fact, that's when I was introduced formally at the Edge in the South Sea. And then...
the upcoming one.
The upcoming one. Now, between the pit stop, we call it pit stop, like you go to the garage, we've done a government roadshow. It's like we are going to have a government lab report. We came up with a template, 15 questions. One of them is about communication. The other one is about pending bills, quite huge there. Absorption of money, issues to do with HR, issues to do with the legacy projects from other previous administrations, the better projects under what we've studied in the last 16 months. We've gotten a lot of insights of how these ministries are performing. It's amazing. Now, the pit stop, so the first retreat was about formation. Do we know what we are doing? The second one was people talking to us, you know. The third one is us talking to ourselves. So now we'll have a report. We had a sit-down with the president about 3 weeks ago or thereabout at State House Nakuru. Now we'll be presenting this on the 19th and 20th of February, if the dates do not change, where we'll be now saying, where are we? And I can tell you it's been an extremely useful exercise. It's never happened before.
What does it say? Is the government working?
There are some areas, there's a lot of progress that has been made, but that is not known out here. It forms part of the podium, briefings every Thursday, because then I'm able to relay. Now I have something I can report to the Kenyans. Number two, there are things that are not working. Okay. There are things that need to be improved upon. For example, if you have to be able to release the money from the pending bills, there will be circulation in the country. Are there some projects that are dead weight that needs to be retired so that you reallocate these resources to what is more important? You see, that's a political decision. Do you, for example, have enough resources in terms of human resource to serve the country in certain areas of the economy? Do we need too many parastatals, for example? There are very germane questions that are coming out that needs to be addressed. For example, in terms of communication, I can tell you, because that's I'm in charge of
time imation.
Okay.
But we thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Isaac Mwaura is the government spokesman. He's been our guest.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.